Hi everybody, Cynthia here. I'm back with another making embellishments video. And I'm currently making, well, I just made all of these flowers and they're layered with vellum. So I'll just bring some up close so you guys can see them. Some of them are still drying. But I did them in a large size, and then I used some of my smaller punches and made these. And some of my flower dies, which I will show you what I used. And then I have some petals cut out so I can show you how I put them together. Currently I'm making them for some Easter paper bag albums I'm working on. And this is how they look on the front covers, which when I do finish these I will share them with you, how they came out. And the greens I used here, oh, I forgot to attach that one. I'll have to do that then. I used, let's get out, this leaf die here, which I purchased on Amazon quite a while ago. And then for these petals I used the flower dies you see here, this large one, and it came in a set with the 3 leaves and then the centers. I also got these on Amazon about a week or 2 ago. If I can find the link to it, I will share it with you down below. And I'm not affiliated with it in any way. I just, a lot of people ask me, you know, do you have a link? I'd like to get them. And so that's what I'll do. So what I did was I cut out the petals of the yellow cardstock, and then for the same size of the large, I cut out a piece of vellum. And then the medium size, I cut out another piece of vellum. And I didn't for this one because if you see here, I just have cardstock, vellum, and then the cardstock. And then I'll show you how I inked them up. And I just use a little bit of glitter glue. Okay. And then what I did was, instead of, you can run these through if you have like a rubber embossing plate, you can use the embossing it has on the metal piece. So you run them through and cut it, and then you put your rubber piece in and you can emboss them with this look. But I decided I wanted to use this flourishy kind of swirl pattern embossing folder, and I just ran all my petals through with this. So that's what you'll do. You'll cut out your, and you can use any type of flower for this, because as you see here, these are even tiny little pointy flowers. And excuse my hands, I have yellow or white dye all over them from coloring these up. But I'll show you for the little ones. I used this size here, and I got this from the Paper Studio. And then I used a tiny one, which I can't find, but I used the one size smaller than this to create the centers, the yellow centers. Oh, here it is. So these are the 2 that I used for that. And just a trick for cutting out your vellum. What I did here is I just saved this to show you guys. But I took the 8 by 11 piece of vellum. Now this is white. And I folded it in half, and I folded it in half again. And then that way you get 4 pieces cut from one, you know, going through once. And I also use it the same way for my punches. I'll keep it folded in 4 and then punch. Oh, and now they don't want to come out, right? Of course, for the video, they don't. There we go. And then you'll get 4 little pieces. And actually the vellum punches and also cuts out a lot nicer when you have a couple layers. Okay, so that's my little trick for cutting out the vellum. And then when I have all these extra pieces I'm not using, I just bag them up for later when I want to create another flower. So I'll just leave those in there. Okay, and then like I said, for the larger ones I use the dies, and you'll do the same thing. You'll fold it in 4 and then run it through with your die. I did have to use a paper shim. I just used this paper shim when I used my plates. So basically I put my white plate down and then my B plate. Then I set my dies on it, and then I used my C plate, and then I used a paper shim on top just to make sure it really cut out nice. Depending on your dies and how sharp they are, you may not have to do that, but I'm just sharing with you how I did it. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just going to show you how I shape the flowers. It's super easy, and then we'll go through and we'll ink them up with white ink, and then I went through again with some of this Studio G glitter glue to kind of make them look a little sparkly and, I don't know, kind of like dew. Okay, so let's get started. I just have like a medium stylus tool. I actually have 3 different sizes I'll share with you. I have the large and the medium and then the really tiny one. This tiny one I actually used for this tiny flower. And then on the other end, they have these rubber pointy things. You don't have to get these. I purchased these at Joann's where they sell the Sculpey clay. And these are actually clay tools. But I use this side for making flowers. So I thought I'd share that quick. Okay, so this is embossed already, and I don't want to ruin any of the nice embossing, but I kind of want to just go through the center here of my flower, and let me try and get a little bit closer so y'all can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go in the center of the flower here and kind of roll my stylus around. So you see my petals are raising, and then set that aside. You're going to do the same thing to all 3 of the cardstock flower pieces. And I'm just using like a foam rubber mat. This is actually an old coaster, and it's just got that nice thick foam. Some people use mouse pads for your computers. Those work well. You can even just use a piece of foam, like a 3-inch thick piece of foam, or however thick you want to make it. Okay, so for the large petal of the vellum, I'm going to turn it around. This is the back side. I'm just going to take my stylus and I'm going to roll around the edges and a little bit in the center, and you'll see it lifts up just like that. Okay, now a trick with rolling vellum, and I've made the mistake, so I want to share it with you. If you go around your vellum and you press too hard, you want to give it a nice press, but if you press really super hard, you could crack it. And you don't want that. You don't want to crack your pieces. You just want to emboss them. So again, around the edges, and then I go right in the middle there just to kind of raise it up. I'm going to do that to all the petals. And then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm just going to lightly take the round part of my tool and just run it around the edges of the petals and in the center. So it kind of flattens it out, but it keeps the petals raised. So that's what it ends up looking like. And you're going to do the same thing to the medium-sized petal. Around the edges and in the center. Around the edges and in the center. And as you can see, it lifts them up. Do the same thing to these three. Okay, so they're raised on this end. I'm going to flip it over again. Try and flatten those out a little. And then you just take your stylus and run it real smoothly around the center in a circular motion, and it's ready to put together. So I have my large petal. I'm going to take my large vellum petal. I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue in the center. And when you're going to stack them, you want to stack them so this petal goes in between your cardstock petals. So you want to layer them up that way. And I'm just going to press down in the center. And then we're going to use our medium cardstock. And again, we're going to layer the petals. The cardstock goes in between the two vellum. Press it down in the center. Then the same size petal of vellum. Little glue. Layer the petals again. Press down. And then our last piece, just cardstock. Make sure you layer the petals again. Center it really nice. And then I just take this and press down in the middle to make sure everything is nice and attached. So that looks really pretty in itself. You don't need to add any ink or glitter if you don't want to. I just like to, so I'm going to share with you. I'm using Stays-On Opaque cotton white ink, and this ink pad is so old. It's kind of falling apart, but it still does the job. I'm basically really lightly just going to run this across the top gently so y'all can see the ink coming onto the petals here. And I'm going to turn and run it along the edges. Turn and run it along the edges. Try and get some of that vellum inked up. And then in the center, I just went in with the corner and just lightly brushed a little ink in that center flower. Okay, so let's set the ink aside. And then I'm just going to take some of this clear glitter glue. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to gently go in and dab a couple swirly dots here and there along the edges. Okay, I'm not adding a lot, just a little bit to every petal. Just kind of go around. I do it like this because I don't want to over glitter it, and I love using the glitter glue instead of loose glitter because it doesn't flake off. It's so nice, but it's all personal preference what you like to use. And it's just a little bit easier for me and not so messy. Okay, so we're all inked up and glittered. And the last step, I just got different size flat back pearls. And I have some large ones here. Just going to peel one off. And I like to add a little extra glue in the center, even though these have adhesive on the back. I'm just going to pop that in the center and press down. And that's it, guys. That's how I layer my flowers with vellum. And then I'll just set this aside to dry. And I hope you guys give them a try. You pretty much do the same exact steps for every size flower that you would use. So like this one here with the yellow, I did yellow cardstock, same size vellum, and then I used the little punch for the center. I'll grab a pink one. So the pink flower here, there's only 3 layers. So I did the medium flower in cardstock, medium in vellum, and then the small cardstock here. And you just do the same exact steps. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. Thank you so very much for watching. And if you give them a try, I hope you have fun creating yours. You guys take care and happy crafting.